Let us now look at the materials and tools that we will be using in this class. We will need one piece of 12-inch long 18-gauge square wire, 2-inch long 18-gauge half-round wire, 2 pieces, a 4-inch long piece of 14-gauge half-round wire. We will need 4-inch long 20-gauge round wire, 15-inch long piece of 21-gauge square wire, and a 78-inch long piece of 30-gauge round wire. We are using an oval cabochon stone for this project. It is around 13 mm by 18 mm in size. And any beads of your choice. I have used copper beads of 2 mm and 3 mm. In terms of tools, we will be using chain nose pliers, round nose pliers, flush cutters, 5 mm dowel, and a 15 mm dowel. Today we are going to learn this asymmetrical Freesia design. It is a fun project and teaches a different method of setting cabochon stone. We will start with an oval stone. This is an amethyst of 18 mm height by a 13 mm width. This design works perfectly with different size stone also. The thickness here is around 4 to 5 mm. This is just for reference. Step 1 is to make the frame for the pendant. We are using a 12-inch long 18-gauge square wire. Mark its center at 6 inches. Now using chain nose pliers, hold the wire at the marked point and fold the wire to get this kind of a V shape. This is what we are looking for. Now place the stone at around 2 centimeters from the bottom. This is the center point of the stone at 2 centimeters. We will mark this point on both sides of the wires. Adjust so that the stone is absolutely in the center. Use anything cylindrical. I am using a similar diameter tool that I have. Place the wire as such. Make sure that the marked points also match the center of the tool. We will now curve the wires to give this kind of a diamond shape where the stone will make the center. You can adjust the shape with your fingers to get it as symmetrical as possible. Keep adjusting till you are satisfied with it. So the overall height of this frame at this point is around 44 mm. It will change depending on your stone size. Our stone will be placed like this in the center. Yes, so the length on both sides of the center should be same. That is what we are aiming for right now. Now the wire is intersecting on the top and we are going to mark that point. Using pliers, we will fold both wires out. Fold the wires out to again get a V at the top, like this. Make sure there is no gap between both wires. Now you can adjust this broadness of the V as per your choice. I'm going to keep it this broad. At this point, this frame is ready. This is our frame. And in our next part, we will continue by making the bail for the pendant. In this part, we will be making the bail for the pendant. If you are ready, then let us start. I'm using a 30-gauge weaving wire for this purpose. It is 36 inches long and we will start from one of the wire ends. Take the frame and we are going to insert the wire from the center. Bring it at this point where the wires intersect. And we are going to wrap around any one of the wires for securing the weaving wire to the frame. This way the wire will hold its position better. We will cut the extra wire end using cutters and secure the wire end properly. Now tighten the wire end using pliers. We are now going to be doing figure 8 weave for the bail. So we are going down from the center. We will bring the wire up on the other side. Go over the wire on the right side. Take the wire back to the outer right side. Again, bring the wire back in the center. Go down. Bring the wire out from the outer left side. Go over the left side wire. Again, go from the center. This time go across to the right side wire. This is our one rotation of weaving. So it is a figure 8 weave with 2 rotations on each side. Every time go through the center and go across to the other side. For the first few rotations, make sure that you hold the frame firmly so that there is no gap between both wires and the shape of the V or the bail is maintained. Continue to weave for 10 to 12 rotations at this point. This is how it should look. Now using pliers, we are going to fold both wires up. So fold just a little bit so that it becomes perpendicular to the base. On the other side, again fold just slightly. Now both wires are parallel to each other with even distance in between. This distance is around 7 mm for me, but it is up to you how much broad bail you want. You can change it accordingly. We will now continue to weave with the same weaving pattern of figure 8 weave. We want 12 to 13 more rotations at this point. Let there be gentle tension in the wire while you are weaving. This will give you most nice weaves. So once we are done, we will again use the pliers to fold the wires in towards the center. So hold it at this point just above the weaving. Fold the wires in. On the opposite side, again fold the wire in. Now you can see both wires are intersecting at this point. From here, we are again going to fold the wires out and make them parallel again. So as you can see, now both the wires are parallel and we have this point and point till which we have to continue to weave. Make sure the weaves are tight and near each other with no gap in between the weaving rotations. This will again be more 10 to 12 rotations. Continue to weave till you reach this point. To end the weaving, we will weave on any one of the wires for a few rotations. This weaving looks similar from both sides. We will cut the extra weaving wire and wrap the wire end properly using pliers. This is very important. So our frame along with the weaving for the bail is now ready. In next part, we will add these wires as base for the stone and we will also shape the bail. In this part, we will make the supports for the stone to set and we will also shape our bail. To start, we will first create the supports for the stone. So at this point, we don't have any support for the stone to set. So we are going to be using 2 pieces of 18 gauge half round wire. We will first mark its position. So one of the supports will be at the top and the other one will be at the bottom. Mark at equal distance from the center. Half round wire has curvature on one side and it is flat on the other side. We will first straighten the wire using nylon jaw pliers. Now make sure that the flat side of the wire is facing you, as this will be a better stable support for the stone. And now we are going to wrap over both sides. So wrap for 1 or 2 rotations of the wire end on each side. Using pliers, tighten the wrap. These are 2-inch long wire pieces. We will cut off the extra wire end and wrap the wire end such that the end point is within the center of the frame. This is just to make sure that there are less ends on the outer side. We can cut again if needed. Tighten the fold with pliers. Similarly, we will do the other side. Now make sure the central wire is pretty tight and it does not go down. This way the stone will sit more nicely within its frame. Okay, so we have now wrapped one of the supports and you can see that it is very flat and it is very straight. It is going to keep the stone in its position. Similarly, we will add the second wire on the top. Make sure the flat side is towards you. And we will again wrap for 2 rotations. Also, while wrapping this, you may damage the frame shape. So be very careful. Let there be good tension in the wire. And also make sure that you do not apply so much pressure that the frame gets deformed. This is very important. Otherwise, the shape of the pendant will completely change. Our frame with the support is now ready. This is how it looks. This is how our stone will sit in its position. You can see that it is pretty straight and the stone is sitting properly. We will now shape our bail. Now make sure that this is our front side. I am using a 5 mm dowel. I'm going to shape my bail according to that. Place the dowel on the back of the bail at the center and curve the wires down like this. Pass the wires out from above the frame wire, support wire, and pull them up from the front side. Push the wires from the back and pull them up from the top. So this is how it is at this point. Curve both wires out on outer sides. Yes, this is what our frame looks like now. We have shaped the bail properly. We will cut the extra wires from the frame wire. Leave just enough to wrap over the frame for 1 rotation. Using pliers, fold the wires down and to the back. As this is a thicker wire, it will be good if you work only with pliers and not just with hands. Try to use square wires for creating the frame as they are much more stable than the round wires. But this can also be done with a 18 gauge round wire. Our frame is now ready, our bale is now ready. This is how our stone will sit. In the next part, we will set the stone using 14 gauge half round wire, which you see here. In this part, we will work with the 14 gauge half round wire and add it over the stone. This is a 4-inch long piece of 14 gauge half round wire. The curvature is on the top. Now, while working, we are going to curve the wire in this shape and set it over the stone with the flat side towards the stone. So I'm going to give the shape using my fingers. The curvature is on the top right now. Using your fingertips, shape the wire. Be gentle. Make sure it remains flat all throughout, like this. This is the kind of shape that we are looking for. It will hold the stone from the left side. Using nylon jaw pliers, we can also slightly adjust the shape if needed. This is how it will be placed over the stone. Now using a marker, we are going to mark the outer end points from where we want to fold the wire down. Now this cannot be done with just fingers for 14 gauge wire. So using pliers, fold the wire down from the marked point. This way we have a C with wires going down. We will also cut the extra wires at this point only before applying it there. So cut extra wire leaving around 1 centimeter, which is enough to wrap around once or twice around the frame wire. Hold the frame and the stone in position. While doing this, make sure you do not damage the frame. Its shape should not be changed. Hold the stone and the wire firmly with one hand. This is a little tricky at this point, but once this wire is applied, the stone will be pretty stable. Fold the wires down. I'm using my fingers just to give the shape. I'm also cutting a little extra as we are only going to wrap once around the frame wire. Now using the pliers, tighten the wire. Now for this step, the stone needs to be in its position as the height of the wire will be determined from the stone height. So we are later going to remove the stone, but for now, the stone has to be placed within the frame. Similarly, we will curve the wire. We will just shape using our hands, place it in its position and fold the wires down to the back. Keep adjusting. I'm again cutting a little bit extra as we are only wrapping once over the frame wire towards the back. Be gentle for this step. 14 gauge wire should be dead soft. It will be much more easier to use. If you are new to wire wrapping and want to learn the basic terminology, then you can definitely take the wire wrapping for beginners course that I have. Then it will be much more easier for you. Wrap the wires on both sides, cut extras wherever needed and tighten using chain nose pliers. Our 14 gauge wire is now set. This is a half round wire and it will hold the stone from the left side. Yes, this is the shape we want. In the next part, we will work on this weaving which we have on the left. Hi, in this part we are going to be adding this weaving component that we have here. This is the component. We are using two different weaves and we are using two different wires. Both wires are 4-inch long. This is a 20 gauge round wire and this is 21 gauge square wire. We will mark at 1.5 inches on both wires from one of the ends. We are using 36-inch long weaving wire and we will wrap the weaving wire on 21 gauge square wire at the marked point for a few rotations. The base wire is dead soft. It can get deformed very easily, so it is better if you are gentle while holding it. Tighten the wire end using pliers. This will secure the weaving wire to the base wire. Now we will add the second wire at the marked point and now we will weave over both wires for 2 rotations. This is 3x2 weave, so it is 3 rotations on one wire and then 2 rotations over both wires. Keep a steady rhythm to get the best weaves as possible. We are weaving for 14 complete rotations. The number of rotations will change if you are using a different size of stone. So at this point, we are going to curve the weaved wires. We have 21 gauge square wire below and we are curving using our thumb. We want the curvature to follow the curvature of the 14 gauge half round wire, and we will place it like this with the shorter wire end towards the right. That's where our shorter wire end or the marked point is. Now we will use the inner wire, that is the square wire, and curve it to follow the curve of the 14 gauge half round wire. Make sure that both wires remain flat and parallel. And the second wire, we want a little gap between both wires, so it will follow the outer frame line, and the inner wire will follow the 14 gauge half round wire curve. So this is how our wires are at this point. Now we are going to weave the figure 8 weave which we did in the bale. It is the same weave, but our wires are curved. We will add more rotations. On every 4th rotation, we will come down to the inner wire. On inner wire, we will do 2 rotations and go back to the outer wire. On outer wire, do 3 or 4 rotations. Here I'm doing 4 rotations and then come back to the inner wire. The number of rotations you will have to adjust depending on your curve. If it is slightly broader, then you will have to add more rotations on the outer wire. Check it on the frame once in between to see how many rotations do you need. We want to weave till the outer edge of the frame. So keep on weaving till the weaving touches the outer edge of the frame. So I still need a few more rotations here. You can keep on checking on the frame to see if you are done. Okay, so our weaving component is now ready and we will now attach it over the frame. Always make sure to tuck the wire ends using pliers. We are now going to cut the extra wires at the bottom. We just need enough to wrap once around the frame wire. And we don't want the wire ends to be seen from the top. So make sure that they are hidden beneath the weaving that we have just done. Take your time. So the wires are now attached at the bottom. Now for the top wire ends, our outer wire, this wire is 20 gauge round wire. We are going to take it down and we will pass it through the bale, like through the center of the bale, and bring it over to the left side, like this. We will now cut the extra wire. And wrap the wire end here. Just tighten the position with pliers. Now we have the square wire remaining on the right side. We will work with that. Our frame is finally getting ready. We will now take the square wire. We will again pass it through the bale. Or bring the wire back out to the left side, outer side. Now at this point we will add a bead to this wire. I'm using a 2 mm copper bead, but of course you can use any bead of your choice. Pass it through the 21 gauge square wire. Place it in this position just at the bottom of the bale. And now we are going to wrap the wire once around the bead. Like this. If you can see how we are wrapping the wire around the bead. So we'll go counterclockwise in direction. Now tighten this first angle with pliers so that the wire matches the curvature of the bead. And wrap for one full rotation. Now using pliers, slightly first cut the wire end and then tuck the wire towards the back of the bead. So our basic framework is now ready. We have attached a bead and the wire end. Here you can see the wire end for the square wire. I hope you are enjoying yourself. So this is done. Now in the next part, we will set the stone using this wire on the right side. Okay, so this is the final step in creating this pendant. We will be setting our stone and add this wire on the right side, add the few other components. So let's start. This is 9-inch long piece of 21 gauge square wire. We are first going to give it a curve shape using our fingers. So we are gently curving from approximate center of the wire. We want this kind of a C shape. We will now insert it just below the 14 gauge half round wire. But before that, we need to place the stone in position. So make sure it is in the center. Now we are adding this wire. We pass it below the 14 gauge and above the stone. Pass it through the gaps. Let the wire go till the other side, opposite side. Now pull it from the opposite side so that the wire is sitting over the stone and holding it from the top. Now take this bottom wire end and bring it back to the right side. Just fold it down at the back and bring it back to the right side. Okay, we now need to adjust this position on the right side. We want the wire just above the half round wire. So bring it in position, adjust it properly, and make sure there is no gap between both wires. If needed, use pliers, and we will also use pliers to tighten this fold over here. Gently tighten the fold so that the wire does not move later. Keep on adjusting. So it is okay if the stone is still moving, as we have not yet secured both wire ends. So now we are going to curve this wire up, follow the curvature of the half round wire. Go up, yes. We have a 3 or 4 mm bead. I'm again using a copper bead. You can use any bead of your choice. Add the bead to the wire and place it just to the right curved wire from the bail. Let it sit in that position, and now we are going to wrap the wire around the bead. So we are curving the wire in clockwise direction around the bead. Continue to curve and take the wire back to the outer right side. This is how it should look. The wire is back to the right side. We will cut extra wire end and then wrap the wire end over the frame wire on the right. Now we still have this other end from the 21 gauge square wire. So we are going to curve that wire up, go over the bead, go back, come back to the front, coil and wrap over this wire here. So take this wire. We are gently going to curve the wire up to the right side of the top bead below the bail. Curve the wire around the bead. Go down from the left side, bring the wire back up to the right side. We can adjust this curve till you are satisfied. It has to follow the curvature of the 3x2 weave we have below, and it has to be smooth and naturally formed. So if you are going to use pliers, then make sure that it does not create any dents in the wire. So as you can see, our wire is back on the right side. Now we are using a 12-inch long piece of weaving wire, and we are going to coil over this wire. Now as this is square wire, our coil will not move later. So from the beginning, we have to place it at the final position. So I'm just wrapping it for a few rotations to secure the weaving wire. Cut the starting extra wire, secure the wire end. And now we will slide the coil down and then continue to coil. So coil over this wire for a length of around 1 inch. Make sure the coil is even and close to each other, so it is around 1 inch. We will cut the extra wire end. So now we want this wire to curve down. We will follow the curve of the wire around the bead at this point. Go down, follow this curvature and bring the wire back to the outer right side. Now we will wrap this wire over the nearest frame wire. So I'm wrapping it over the curved bail wire that we created in the beginning. But it can even be wrapped on the outer right side frame wire. Adjust the curve and wrap the wire end properly. Now at this point the stone should be set. You can move the pendant a little bit around to see if it is falling or if it is moving at all. I'm securing the stone even more by tightening the base wires a little bit from the sides. So tighten the wire a little bit, and if you find that if it is still moving, then you can use a little bit of 30 gauge wire to wrap this 21 gauge wire along with the frame wire. I have not found it necessary so far, so just a little bit of tightening and tweaking helps. Make sure that this particular wire is square wire. That will help secure the stone more nicely. Okay, so this is our last component, this 2-inch piece of wire which we will add below the figure 8 weave. This is again 21 gauge square wire. We will insert the wire from below the weaved component. and below the support or the top support of the stone, like this. Now wrap the top side wire end over the frame wire. Cut a little bit extra and wrap it over this frame wire. Okay, now that the top is secured, we will curve the wire down to follow the curvature of the figure eight weave. Bring it back to the right side, outer right side frame edge. Fold the wire down and cut extra wire end. Secure the wire end by wrapping it over to the frame wire. Okay, we are almost done. So our pendant is now ready. Now it's up to you to adjust all the parts till you are satisfied. Make sure that the stone is nice and secure. And yes, definitely you can try this design with all different sizes of stones. It works really nicely. I really hope you enjoyed. Thank you.